Okay, there we go. We're all
Well,
back.
well,
How you doing, Dr. Zinni? Been a long, long time.
it has been. It has been. I'm doing very well, and
Okay.
there's been some changes, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
All right,
Um,
so we're going to get into our conversation. We want to welcome everyone back. All right, we are
mm,
definitely going to be on a regular schedule now for the Living
yes.
Well, the Ultimate Health Journey. I know we have been gone for a while, but we had a little break, so now our break is over. We're going to go into the fall season, winter months. We actually changed the schedule, so we're going to be doing every other Thursday. So it's the second and the fourth Thursday of every month that you get to come on and ask Dr. Zinni all your medical questions, and then he's going to go ahead and give you some information that you're going to be different topics. Like tonight, we're going to be talking about what he's going to be talking about. Are you under insured or uninsured? Okay,
Mhm.
or have health care issues, access issues, which is very,
Yes.
very, very important. Definitely important. Regardless of what kind of insurance that you may have, is work, self-employed, um, and then public aid. You definitely need some type of insurance in your life. All right, and
Mhm.
he's going to go through all those issues and talks with you. But
Right.
again, welcome back. If you have questions, please go ahead and put them down. If you're joining us, go ahead and say your city, where you're from, your name, and I will shout you out in a minute. All right. We're here for only for a few minutes, so get all your questions in. Try to keep him here as long as you can. That's your job. That is your job, audience. All right. So Dr. Zinni, underinsured, underinsured, uninsured, tongue twister that you gave me. You know that, right? And healthcare access. Okay. So what
Mhm.
are we talking
Mhm.
about here?
So it's kind of interesting, and especially as we head into the fall here, this is kind of open enrollment for insurance. And I'll give you some background statistics. If your employer has fewer than 50 employees, then they are not mandated to have the Affordable Care Act insurance, which means that they either have a high deductible plan or they may not have any plan at all because again it's something that they're not required to do. So you may ask yourself, how many people does this affect? So if you consider working age adults, which are about 15 to 64 years of age, that's about 212 million people. That's a lot of people. So if you look at the access issue, access means how quickly can I get into my primary care, or how quickly can I get into maybe urgent care, or God forbid, the emergency room. Primarily on the primary care side, that's about 31 days, i.e., that's about a month. And then if you happen to get an appointment, how long does it take you on average to see that physician or that clinician? And that's about 15 to 30 minutes. And then the other statistic out there from a time aspect, it takes about 34 minutes on average to drive to and from that office visit. Quite honestly, I'm not sure where that 34-minute came from. It was a study I saw out of Naples, Florida. However, if you're in a big metropolitan area like Chicago, LA, New York City, it can take you 15 or 20 minutes just to get out of your community, let alone get on the highway and get somewhere. So, again, I think that's an underreported average. And then this is the big thing from an economic standpoint. That's about $89 billion annually um, for wait time, for driving time. So it's a huge expense. So that's kind of the groundwork on the access issue. Does that kind of resonate with anyone, or are there any issues that people are kind of coming up to mind yet? Not seeing any questions yet. So let's get into the uninsured or the underinsured. Based on the most recent statistics, which is from 2024, that's about 1 in 4 working age adults, which means that about 25% of people out there are either underinsured or uninsured. So remember that big number we talked about, 212 million. That means that about 55 or 52 million people are either underinsured or uninsured. So you may ask yourself, what is underinsured? We all know what uninsured means. That means you don't have any coverage whatsoever, which means that the emergency room is your primary care, which is outrageously expensive, inconvenient, and more importantly, it's not continuity of care. Continuity of care is a big term for you don't establish a relationship, so you don't have that ongoing type of care, someone that knows you. For example, when I was growing up, my whole medical history was on a 3x5 card in my primary care physician's office. He had a big old Rolodex, old term, and on there was all the pertinent stuff about my health because he knew me. So that's that's the uninsured. The underinsured usually means that because again the employer in a small business association, meaning less than 50 employees, doesn't have to have health care, you may have a high deductible. High deductible can be something outrageous. Uh, for example, for my wife and I, we have a $10,000 deductible, and that's because we don't get sick. We just need something catastrophic care. Um, so for people like us that aren't sick, then that could be a big issue. Think about, and this is where underinsured comes in, the same high deductible plan, $10,000, um, but you need some meds. You need something for high blood pressure or high cholesterol or, God forbid, diabetes. Now you have to pay out of pocket for those medications. You can try to go to a Walmart, they have a bunch of meds, um, but you're still going to be paying out of pocket for those medications because you're underinsured. So that's where individuals have to go to the marketplace to try to pick up some type of gap solution. So this is where we come in, and we just launched a gap solution. So for about $59 a month, you can get nationwide virtual urgent care, which means that no matter what state you're in, you have access to urgent care, and and this is all virtual, you'll have access within 15 minutes. For a primary care, in other words, if you want to establish for some of your healthcare issues like blood pressure or diabetes, or for um, even mental health, you have access to someone within 3 days. Remember, in the beginning, we talked about 31 days. So this is now 3 days. So I saw a question just pop up. How do you see delayed medical care affecting patients? So the big problem is continuity, right? So if you don't have insurance or you're underinsured, now you're going to the emergency room to maybe get your blood pressure medicine filled, or you go to an urgent care, which means that you might be able to see someone that's less costly, but you're not establishing that relationship. So as a result, all of this delay means that you're not getting your blood pressure controlled, you're not getting your diabetes controlled or managed, and that management can then lead to other disease processes down the road, which means that you have more inflammatory conditions, more diabetes, um, secondary comorbidities, and those are the big issues. Um, so the other thing, thank you, mental health effects, um, you also have virtual mental health care, which, as you know, trying to get into a therapist is next to impossible. So with this plan, it's within 3 days. So unfortunately, with the COVID pandemic, there's been a lot of mental health stress issues that come up. So that could be anxiety, depression, even PTSD. People have seen um, coming out of the pandemic and coming out of COVID, because we're all social animals. We're meant to connect, and when there's been barriers to connecting, that has been a huge psychological issue. Probably the biggest issue has been with our younger generations, because they've been kept out of schools and they've just been connecting through Zooms. Do I find uninsured patients more likely to come in? And the question got cut off. Let me see if I can. To come in only when conditions become severe. So, um, unfortunately, yes and no. And what I mean by that, yes, they'll come in when it's severe, um, and no, they won't see a primary care. What they'll end up doing is going to a hotline, or going to the emergency room. And again, the emergency room isn't really set up to help out people. Um, they may throw some medications at you, and then you're trying to get into that mental health care gap. And that's where this gap solution helps out. The other thing is that you have access to over 4,000 medications. And if it's an urgent care, then that prescription will be written for you, and then you just go to your local pharmacy to pick it up. If it's a maintenance med or a management med, then it's shipped to your house, and it's shipped to your house in a 90-day supply. And medications, these are generic ones, are free to you. And again, it's a wonderful program, and it's a home delivery, and it's for up to 7 members in your immediate family, in that one household address. So, who are the people that most likely will um, benefit from this? I tried to come up with some kind of areas. Um, so, if you think about it from health services, again, these are going to be small private healthcare businesses like chiropractors or dentists or ophthalmologists or eye doctors. Any type of small private office is going to benefit. And then there's another question, which brings me to the next question. How does urgent care differ from an emergency room visit? It's really the level of care or the skill set. So, for example, if you have crushing chest pain, or you're losing sensation to your face, you can't talk right, or you're losing sensation to your arm, that means you're having a heart attack or a stroke. You don't go to urgent care, you go to the emergency room, because they're the ones that can help you out. Urgent care usually, unfortunately, is someone that has a urinary tract infection or a virus, or a cold. Those things can be handled quite nicely through urgent care, and can be handled through this virtual urgent care program. So the big issue is trying to make sure that you can get your questions answered, and usually urgent care. How affordable is urgent care compared to primary care or emergency care? Well, first of all, neither urgent care or emergency care is a replacement for primary care. Because again, primary care is establishing that relationship. It's establishing that one-on-one. And you can't do that with urgent care or with emergency room. In general, a urgent care brick and mortar, which means you go to a clinic, is going to be more affordable than an emergency room visit just because of all the level of care services that they could potentially offer. So therefore, it's going to be much more expensive to go to emergency room. So most expensive emergency room. Next is urgent care. Uh, Next would be your own primary care if you could get in. Um, so that's where this gap solution with this virtual wellness program comes in. Are urgent care facilities accessible enough in rural or underserved areas? So that's the beauty about this virtual program. It's available in 50 states. So, in other words, in all 50 states in America, it's offered. And the reason why we have to delineate those 50 states is because our company is national and international, which means that we have people in Canada to the north of us, Mexico to the south, and then in Europe. So, but this program right now is just for the United States, and it's all 50 states. So, some of the other areas that you may find need is in the hospitality or food industry. In other words, local restaurants or bakeries, because again, they're smaller businesses and trying to keep their employees, which are usually 1099s, which means that they're not fully employed. The way to keep them is to try to offer some plan like this. So this way they have something that they can get. Is this telehealth urgent care? Yes, everything is virtual. Virtual is a term that grew out of the pandemic from telehealth or telemedicine. It's now called virtual. And the reason why it's called virtual is because these are usually some type of video interface where there is a clinician on the other side of the camera, like I am right now, and I can see you. So there are even some diagnostic things that I can do. So, for example, um, I could ask you, it sounds kind of gross, but I can ask you to open your mouth and then literally stare into the camera, and I can look at the back of your mouth and see if it is a strep kind of tonsillitis or is it more of a viral. Uh, you're not going to be seeing me because I'm not licensed in all 50 states, but you'll be seeing one of our licensed clinicians in your state that can help out. There are other things that you can do too. For example, if you fell on your shoulder, I would ask you to raise your arm. And if you can't raise your arm, that may be more of an issue. But if you can, even though it's painful, then chances are you didn't dislocate your shoulder and you don't need to have an x ray. So, in other words, you can be treated virtually. Um, Even spots. So, if there is a spot on your hand, you can just put your hand up and you can kind of point to the spot there, and then we can kind of look at it and have an idea about what it is from a dermatological type of an issue. So, there's plenty of things that can be done. So, uh, yes, virtual care is the new term for telehealth, telemedicine, because it's not just by telephone, it's virtual via a video, via a camera. And that's what this platform offers. It's that type of benefit. So there's plenty of need out there. The other need is going to the Small Business Association in your area, or maybe the Chamber of Commerce in your area, and they'll have a list of small businesses that would benefit from this plan. Because again, as we said in the beginning, there's about 55 million people that need this, and there's probably around 35 million small businesses. That means businesses that are less than 50 employees that don't have to have medical insurance. So they're the ones that are going to need some type of help. So that's where we come in with this gap care solution. It's not credible insurance, which means that it's not going to be found on any type of healthcare exchange. It is just that. It is a gap care solution, just to try to help people out that have either nothing or very little. So hopefully that kind of makes sense for all those individuals that out there. I want to be conscientious of your time, and we're coming up at the top of the hour. Any other issues or questions that kind of came up?
I have no other questions, Dr. Zini, but that was a really, really great session,
Yeah,
especially for the understood a lot of things I didn't even know. So
yeah,
it is
yeah.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
So
It
how
is
long has the program been in effect now that they have at
um,
social?
just about 3 weeks.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And we have people slowly signing up for it. There's newsletters that you'll also get. There's also live Q&As that you'll get when
Mm-hmm.
you sign up. But the big thing is we have a heart to help people that either have nothing or have a big gap. And we would like to fill that gap. You're probably too young to remember the Rocky movie when Rocky was asked, "Why do you like Andrea or Adrian?" When he's like, "Wow, she's got gaps. I got gaps. Together we fill each other's gaps." So
Yeah.
that's what this is. It's gap.
You know what? I love you, Dr. Zini, because you just said I was young. Of course, I remember Rocky, but thank you very much for thinking I was that young. Listen, this is the Living Well, the Ultimate Health Journey. We're here every second Thursday and the last of the month, Thursday. We're gonna try to be here on time at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Okay, but I think this is a good conversation. If you're underinsured or you're uninsured, or even if you don't have any insurance, you definitely need to check out this program. You can see the website being scrolled at the bottom. So go ahead and grab that link right there. Or you can go ahead and contact Dr. Zini is actually on Facebook, Instagram,
Mhm.
and TikTok. He is actually on TikTok. So DM him and ask him more questions about it. If you have more questions about it, he can give you the link. If you have more questions for me, go ahead and send them to me, then I can send them to Dr. Zini, or we'll have them for next week when we talk about this. But I do have a question and see
Mhm.
when you it's about the medicine when you're doing this tele urgent care, or you're actually sitting here like we are now. Do
Mhm.
you still get medicine if I need ibuprofen or something like that? Do I still get that, or would that cost for me to go to the doctor to see my
No,
primary?
no, no. There's um, well over 1,000 meds. That's what it officially says on the site. But soon it's going to be updated to 4,000 meds. So if it is prescribed, and if it's prescribed in the urgent care setting, then a prescription will be sent to the local pharmacy that is convenient for you, and then you can pick up that prescription there. If it's something that's a maintenance type of medicine, like I said before, either blood pressure or cholesterol or diabetes, those are the most common ones, then it'll be sent free to your house in a 90-day supply.
Okay. And I am being conscious of time, but one more question. So, because I'm
Sure.
pretty sure I'm surprised we didn't get it tonight. For GLP-1, would the doctors be able to do that one?
So if it's being prescribed for diabetes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
For weight reduction, probably not.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because unfortunately, you've heard about all the weight loss clinics that are popping up. Um,
Yes.
there's even on-site, online websites. I think it's called Him and Hers or Hers and Hims or something like that.
Dr. Zinni, so
Yeah,
many.
exactly.
Roll. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think even Weight Watchers and got into it now.
yeah. And we should probably revisit that again
Okay.
because it's not as good as people would like to think that it is. So yeah, we should have another session specifically on that.
All right, y'all heard that. We're gonna have another session, and I know that's gonna be a hot show because people want that GLP-1. And
Yeah.
again, it's popping. I was so since the last time we talked about it, it has popped up just over the last few months, just
Hmm.
popped up everywhere.
Hmm.
Basically, you can walk into any spot and get a shot. So, and
Exactly.
which is frightening to me. So, I mean, I was on it, but I went to my doctor prescribe it for me because I was pre-diabetic, and I
Hmm.
had some other issues that they were trying to get rid of. So, which it
Hmm.
did. The numbers
Hmm.
came out really, really well. But
Hmm.
it's amazing, Dr. Zini. All right, so let's
Hmm.
sum it up and what else do we have?
So the big thing is for those individuals that are either uninsured, underinsured, or have access, there is a gap solution, and we're here
Yeah.
to help you out as always.
Okay. And you know what? Usually I would do a video after this, but I'm gonna
Mhm.
check my page out, check Dr. Zini page out, and we'll have a video on this specific conversation um, on being underinsured, uninsured, and access to healthcare issues. So, if that is it, we want to thank you for joining us. Please come back and see us every second and fourth Thursday at 7:30 Central Time. And then adjust the times throughout this United States. But we're gonna be here. We're gonna try to be here. If it's just me and him, y'all know I'm back. I'm in the back. So, but now I have to be in the front. Dr. Zini made me. So y'all write him and tell him don't make
Thank you.
Alice do that. All
Thank
right. So we
you.
want to say thank you very much, and we'll see you for the next health talk on our weekly health talk. Bye
Sounds
bye.
good. Bye
Yeah.
bye. Bye.